Huh? Clerk. Clerk. That's what it is. Redheaded clerk today. Welcome,
We need more
everybody.
up here. Let's
Got
go.
two redheads now here. One on both sides of me. Geez. Okay. We're going to call this meeting to order at 9:02. Is there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions to the agenda.
Okey-dokey. Would you mind, Madam Lawyer, reading the closed session items?
Chair, my pleasure. There are 3 items for your board today under closed session. The first is your conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6. You've designated as your agency representative Director Noriega, Joel Begay, Deputy CAO, Ms. Carter, Human Resources Managers, and under discussion is employee organization, all units, and also unrepresented employees, excluding elected officials. There is an existing litigation that your lawyers have an update for you on. The name of the case is Sandra Smith versus County of Madera. It's a Madera County Superior Court case, MCV 082579, and that's under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1. Under Government Code Section 54956.9, the last item is the decision whether to initiate litigation that's related to one potential case. Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment on any of the items? Any from the board? Let's go into closed session. Oh, there is? You're under the closed items. The regular public thing will be at 10 o'clock. Okay? Thank you. Okay, you guys ready? We're going to get this meeting going. 10:03, and thank you everybody for being here. And we're going to, any reportable action out of closed session?
Chair, there is no
No, sir.
reportable action from your closed session. However, you may decide to go back into closed session and finish your items later on in the meeting.
Right. Any public comment on that? Any board comments? Seeing none. Hey, we're going to open and close this meeting in honor, I guess, memory of Jim Arthur Cheaple from North Fork, Native American. I've known him most of my life. Passed away the other day. And great tribal member, great person, a logger from day one. So they shut the mills down. Just a good man we lost. Anybody else?
Bob Herman passed away, and just wanted to open and close in his memory and keep Kevin and Diane in our prayers. And but Bob was a great guy. I got to meet him and talk with him when my grandma was living over at Cedar Creek, and he was there too. And just always
man.
Nice, great guy.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Any others? None. Our invocation today is by Leroy Neely, Rob Poitras's classmate. He's from the Mount Zion Baptist Church. And Matt Watson, our fire chief, would you mind giving the flag salute today? Thank you. You ready, Leroy? Okay.
To pray for this board. Father, we come this morning thanking you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We as Madera County residents thank you, Father, for all that you've done. We thank you for this gracious board. We ask you now to bless those 2 bereaved families. Touch them, Father, in every household that's represented here today. Precious and mighty name of Jesus. Mr. Chairman, if you'd allow me just one moment,
Yep,
I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. Robert, Mr. Frazier. Thank you for the opportunity of allowing me. And the name is Gaffney. Okay? Gaffney. G-A, come on, what? Follow me. Gaffney.
Say it one more time.
G. Gaffney.
Gaffney.
Yes.
I did it right?
I'm Leroy. Yeah, I'm just the associate.
Oh, you're a
Yeah, I'm an associate. So
You're
but-
still high up there for me.
Yeah, you
anyway.
can have all that. But God bless you, and may this board continue in one accord, and may God bless you all. Thank
That
you.
means a lot.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Okay. Number 4, please. And clerk.
The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record.
Line them up.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Donald Michael Allen, and I am a proud employee of Madera County. And my classification for the county is Social Worker 4. Dear Madera County Board of Supervisors and leaders, Madera County employees and SEIU 521 members are proud to work and serve the community of Madera County. We represent a wide array of support offered to our community, from social workers to behavioral health to roads maintenance workers. Every one of our jobs are important and critical to keeping Madera County running. So we would like to address the many issues our members and colleagues are facing with payroll in June and July of 2022 and even further back. It is unacceptable that our members' pay stubs are not reflecting current vacation time, comp time, overtime, pay balances. There has been confusion around regular pay for staff, and this has caused financial hardship for our members. We, the undersigned employees of Madera County and members of SEIU Local 521, ask the Madera Board of Supervisors and leadership to work with us to correct these outstanding issues. Some of the issues, like I listed above, are inaccurate sick time, vacation, holiday pay, unauthorized taking of money from our paychecks, overpaying and underpaying. For example, I have 10 adjustment letters of being underpaid, and this is going back to 2021, okay? So I have an underpayment for July 13th for the month of July for $949, and I can share these with you. But these are some of the issues that our employees and our members are facing. From my pay stubs from June, and these are printed from NeoGov. If you look at my pay stubs, and I can share these with you, they're all of my accrual time, sick time, vacation time, and comp time are all different. I'm afraid to take vacation because I don't know if I have the time. So these are, a lot of the pay stubs are inaccurate. And if I have to provide proof of verification of my income, if I want to go get a home or a large loan, and if I provide these, my pay stubs, they're all inaccurate. They're not, that my time?
Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to provide you guys with the petition of all of our undersigned members. If
Is
you
that
guys
this?
have it, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I yield my time. Thank you for your time and
Thank you,
attention.
Don.
Thank you, Tom.
Hello, my name is Nisa Moreno. I'm also here representing our union, and I'm going to share a story of one of my colleagues who was unable to speak today. Hello, my name is Margarita Ramirez. I have been a social worker with the county for 2 years, and I'm a member of SCI Local 521. On April 1st of this year, I began my maternity leave and elected to integrate my time. On May 9th, I received a letter indicating they overpaid me $2,903.77 for the month of April. So in May, after all adjustments, my net pay was $11.64. On June 22nd, I received an overpayment letter that also indicated an adjustment that would happen in June's payroll. On July 28th, I received another letter via email stating I was overpaid for the month of June, even though they had already previously corrected and adjusted my pay. On August 23rd, 1 week before payday, I received a letter indicating I had a remaining balance of $3,504. So the amount of $1,752.06 would be deducted in August and another $1,752.06 in September. They did not ask for any authorization. I signed no documents to indicate I agreed with the balance being taken, and they did not even offer a payment plan. All the letter offered was an apology for the inconvenience. This was more than an inconvenience for me and my family. The amount removed is significant, and they did not provide proper notice or prepare for the loss. I just expanded my family, which of course created a new expense for me. Even as a married individual, the deduction led us to have to borrow money and use credit cards to pay our remaining bills to make ends meet. I will be taking the remainder of my bonding time this year and have no intention of integrating my time, as I fear I will be put in the same predicament. The issue with payroll has been ongoing since I began my employment with Madera County, and I am positive my story is not unique. I ask the board to look into this issue so that it does not occur for anyone else. And we all
Thank you.
appreciate your time and listening to us and taking a look at our petition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for your guys' time. My name is Gabriel Navia. I've been with Madera County for almost 25 years. I'm a member of the SEIU. My job that I have as hired is to provide safe drinking water to all our constituents throughout Madera County and to maintain all our water lines, even if it's on Thanksgiving Day at 2 o'clock in the morning or Christmas Eve. So I'm asking that you see to it that HR and auditors do their job that they're hired to do. Because in the last couple of months, it's been stressful because one of the months they didn't pay my insurance. And then they told me in the following month, oh, we're going to cover the insurance now. And then the next couple of months, oh, we overpaid you. Oh, we overpaid you again. And then they don't send a letter saying, oh, by the way, we're taking $700 out. I get the letter after they take the money out when it's sent, that's supposed to be sent a month before. So I ask that you talk to others in HR and to do their job that they're hired to do, as well as all our other county employees that we are hired to do our jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Chris Childers, your Chief Probation Officer, is here to talk about the Pink Patch Project. I'm joined by Sheriff Pug behind me, Executive Assistant Valerie Mole, and two outstanding probation officers, Sophia Barca and Melissa Perez. We're here to announce to the public and remind them that this month is the Breast Cancer Awareness and that the law enforcement agencies in the local area are fundraising by selling the pink patches, as you see on Sheriff Pug, to the public, and it's a $10 cost, and it's 100% donation of that $10 goes to the Marjorie Braden Breast Cancer Center in Clovis. So I do have a few folks who want to see a few things, so I just want to make that public announcement.
You got
Thank
the
you.
patches there with you?
I do.
Here. I'll buy 2 of them. Chris.
Good morning. Again, my name is Sophia Barca. I'm a Senior Deputy Probation Officer here with Madera County Probation Department. First of all, thank you for your time today. The Madera County Probation Department is happy to once again be participating in the Pink Patch Project that helps give patients fighting breast cancer the best possible care here in the Central Valley. The Madera County Probation Department, Madera County Sheriff's Department, and the Madera County District Attorney's Office have joined 13 other departments here in the Central Valley to raise funds to be donated to the Marjorie E. Radin Breast Cancer Center at Clovis Community. Last year, our combined fundraising efforts helped raise over $135,000, and this year we hope to surpass that. The only way we can do that is with the support of our community and the purchasing of any of our patches and other items. Breast cancer affects about 1 in 8 women, and our 3 agencies have taken the pledge, along with many other law enforcement agencies that participate in the Pink Patch Project throughout the United States, to continue to fight the disease and provide the best care for those fighting the fight. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ahmed Mike Alomari. I reside in Madera County, born and raised. Over the past 3 weeks, I've reached out to you guys regarding a certain matter that I was hoping.
And I want to apologize because I didn't get you last time, but.
No, actually, I came in late and the Zoom wasn't working, so I apologize as well. So hopefully.
We got it all right.
Yeah, no, and he called me and told me that, so I really appreciate that. But, born and raised in Madera, my father migrated here from Yemen nearly half a century ago. Our family has called Madera home for the past nearly 40 years, and I was born and raised in Madera. I own multiple businesses. I'm the type of guy that works 7 days a week. I love Madera County. I love our community. We always try to give back, whether it's backpack giveaways, coat giveaways, when COVID hit, or when we helped out the hospital and stuff like that. We always step up to the plate. And at the current moment, I'm reaching out to this board regarding what I would call a catastrophe that is about to happen. And I rely on you guys because you guys are the only agency or government body that can prevent this. It is a serious situation in Madera County that I'm pretty sure you guys are maybe even tired of hearing regarding this GSA fee that's already been sent out on the property tax bills. I did send you guys a PowerPoint review on kind of like an economical analysis or a half financial plan and half economical analysis on it. I don't know if you guys all got it, but I know Mr. Wheeler did, Rogers and Poithers, we went over it, and maybe just, I think I tried to email to you.
I think you got my name wrong, but I was gonna ask if you could.
Resend. That's fine. And I'm hoping that it could be placed on the next, on the board meeting on November 1st. I would want to just keep it simple. I do not want to get into opinions or any bias about what's in the plans and what the fees are for and stuff like that. I really commend Stephanie and her team for what she did and the plan she put together. However, this is just a very, very sad economic scenario that is playing out in the county of Madera and pretty much in farming statewide, nationwide, I guess you can say, in 2022. We had a number of events that made this year really exceptional, whether it was the frost, the heat spell in April, the Ukraine crisis, and the inability to export commodities from our ports here in California. Bottom line, and then inflation too. So for every farmer that I deal with, inputs rose and revenue dropped. And then in a year where this fee came out, I really believe it was wrong timing. But I'm not recommending to eliminate the fee. It's simply allow the fee to fit the times or the budget that was proposed in the study where the fee came from. And I believe that's where there's a lot of confusion from folks, where they see the fee, they calculate the amount very easily, and then they see how much reserve is going to be left over. And in a year like this, the only word I could ever think of to describe that is un-American. We never kick somebody when they're down. And I think that's what's going on currently at the moment. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be free to answer them at the moment. But I seriously consider you guys do move on this for the next board meeting. And like I said, I'll present the PowerPoint that I put together. I've shared it with most of you and Stephanie as well. And like I said, it's strictly economical and strictly financial based.
good analysis to it.
Thank you so much for taking concern and being reasonable. What we all have got to try to figure out how we're going to do this.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, and I know there's likely
Not
going to be
easy,
a
I'll
new
tell you
board.
that.
Yeah, so
We're
I
in the
want
hot
to.
seat, and it's just that we're going to get it worked out.
Yeah,
And we got great staff. It couldn't be no better. I mean, I have other supervisors in other counties always bugging me that they're going to try to steal our staff.
we
Most
don't want
of them
that.
are behind us,
Yeah.
Everybody says we shouldn't be in front. Well, we've always been that way. This whole board has always worked that way on anything we've done, and I've been on here 16 years. That's the most important thing that I think that we've always accomplished is that we want to be number one first, and try to get it figured out so everybody wins.
Yeah, and I agree with that methodology. So,
Thank you so much. And
okay.
again, I apologize the last time because
Yeah, no worries.
I didn't see you. I mean,
Yeah.
they told me afterwards, but then you slipped out, and
Yeah, I had an
I shouldn't
appointment
have
with the
called you
electrician.
because I thought
That's
that
fine.
was
So,
important.
so just you haven't received it, Leticia? Okay. Okay.
He's
And I'll
gonna
receive.
get it for
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Did
you.
you get it too, Brett, or no?
I've got it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Any other public comment?
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
had a follow-up on the pink patch thing. Probation Officer Barca said that they were joining the 13 other departments. It's really the other way around in terms of donations to closed community. Madera County started this, and we were the first ones, and then the other people joined us. So it was just something that should be noted. You just were talking about, we like to be first. Well, we like to be first, and we were, and these folks continue to raise a whole lot of money for this. So
Yeah,
that people can stay.
135,000 is big.
Yeah. We want people to stay local to get their treatment. We don't want them to have to drive to the Bay Area and other places.
I love that. So,
And I want to thank the SEIU for coming out and providing a face to the story of what's been going on. So I just appreciate them being here.
yeah, thank you so much. And I just, again, tomorrow night is our Howl dinner in Oakhurst in Awanee at the Hitchin Post. Jackie Martin, her son Miles, got cancer real bad, and we're trying to raise money for the family. They got 3 other children, and they had to both quit work to take care of the kids. So, and then on the 22nd, we have the Mountain Area Bike Rodeo for bikers from 2 years old to 15 years old. So come on up to Oakhurst. Monster Mayhem, Elks Club at the Senior Center in Oakhurst is having it on October the 28th. Their annual trunk or treat for the Big Brothers Big Sisters is October 27th. And then our annual poker and bingo Rotary fundraiser is October the 28th at the Oakhurst Community Center. Any others? None? We will move on. Thank everybody for coming and talking to consent calendar. Any questions from the board members?
I have a couple.
Okay, what numbers?
Yeah, for number L and M.
L and M. Dave, okay, you want to do L first?
Sure. She gets up here.
Good morning, Angela.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm assuming that L is in regards to the repairs that are going to be done on those wells for safety purposes, and we're just getting an anticipation note on that. Is that correct?
So good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrew Saldati, Deputy Director of Public Works. The GAN is actually for a planning project that we have from the state.
Right.
And yes, it is a planning project that will look at the wells and also treatment and consolidation with other districts within the area.
Yeah, I just wanted to call attention to that particular thing. And on M, is this extraordinary maintenance or routine? And are we not getting enough? Are people not paying their bills? What's the deal there?
So on item M for Fairmead, it is for the regular operation and maintenance of the system. And it is from lack of revenue, which is due to folks not paying their bills in a timely fashion.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the information.
Thank you. Any other questions?
And as always on the GANs, I want to thank the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office. We were able to do so much because of those. We wouldn't be able to start anything without those, so I appreciate those.
Absolutely. It is a tremendous help to all the districts.
Okay, any other questions on it? Any public comment on the consent calendar? Yeah, none. What's your pleasure, board?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Is there any comment online on the consent?
Oh, is there any comment online?
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep forgetting that we're kind of going without that now.
We don't have anyone on Zoom requesting public comment.
Okay, roll call then.
Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras,
Yes.
and Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes.
I did that backwards, by the way.
That's okay.
Motion by
That's okay.
Supervisor Brett Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Poitras.
Yep.
5-0 vote.
Perfect.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All works.
No worries.
Okay, we'll do 6A. Who's gonna do that one? Come on up. Hey, Connie.
Presentation of proclamation recognizing October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week.
Connie Marno, President, Director, Behavioral Health Services. We are so happy to be here. I was so attentive to what you were saying. I apologize. So Red Ribbon Week is starting. It's kind of sad to come here and tell you that alcohol and drugs are still a big problem, causing deaths, especially among young people. I think you may have heard on a regular basis the opiate epidemic and how dangerous. There's some pills that look like candy, has fentanyl, that are being made accessible to kids, young people, and is very, very dangerous. Sad to hear that we still have major problems with alcohol, marijuana, methamphetamine in our valley. So we are here to ask, beg, plead, please help us reduce the use of alcohol and drugs dependence. We do have a couple of staff here who are doing wonderful work in the community. I have Sylvia in China, Parker, and we have our team in back of me that are always working. We're always doing campaigns, but also improving our treatment system to help folks get into recovery and stay healthy. So I'd like them to have, if it's okay with you, to read the proclamation for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's China Parker, SUD Prevention Coordinator at Behavioral Health Services. Kind of piggybacking on what Connie just stated, Red Ribbon Week is one of the oldest and largest drug awareness prevention campaigns. It's celebrated, like she stated, on October 23rd to the 31st. And the 2022 theme is Celebrate Life, Live Drug Free. So for the proclamation for National Red Ribbon Week, whereas substance abuse, including alcohol, medication, and other drugs, affect individuals, families, and communities across California, and whereas it is imperative that visible, unified prevention, education efforts by community members be launched to eliminate the demand for these substances, and whereas it is the goal of the National Red Ribbon Week to involve youth, families, schools, businesses, religious institutions, government, law enforcement agencies, and service organizations in all aspects of this campaign, and establish an atmosphere that supports awareness, education, and ongoing initiatives to prevent substance abuse. And whereas the 2022 National Red Ribbon campaign will be celebrated in every community during the week of October 22nd through October 30th of 2022. And whereas the National Red Ribbon Week campaign promotes family and individual responsibilities and offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California hereby proclaim October 23rd through October 31st, 2022 as Red Ribbon Week, and encourages its citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities, not only during Red Ribbon Week, but all year long, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free county of Madera.
Amen.
And then I just wanted to make known some services. If you know anyone or need to give anyone any services, a phone number for MCBHS SUD treatment services. We have an access line for help. The phone number is 559-673-3508. So you can give that to anyone that you know may be struggling, or if you want to share that to any of your organizations. And how we plan to support Red Ribbon Week this year. We're going to be wearing our red ribbons, just like you all are wearing, to show the dangers of drug abuse and our commitment to living a healthy and drug-free lifestyle. And we plan to participate in community educational events and share information on substance use and local resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You got to say something too? You ought to up there. You ought to say something. But thank you. Let's come up and have a picture taken there. Item 6B, Madam Clerk.
PARS resolution. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution to establish a public agency retirement services, PARS, other post-employment benefit, OPEB account. Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with PARS per the fee schedule for the purpose of pre-funding pension obligations and/or other post-employment benefits obligations for a term from November 1st, 2022 to November 1st, 2025, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. We're joined today by Mitch Parker, Jim Brown from PARS. We'll introduce a quick refresher from when we last took this 2 years ago, and then hand it over to PARS to do a very brief presentation.
That looks really, that must be, Russia must have intercepted our,
Dot matrix.
Joel, do you want to shut it
Internet.
down, the PowerPoint, and then, yes, please.
Brett, would you read that one?
Nope.
Yeah, this is.
All right, so, okay.
I can read mine.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad we wrote this in Atari.
Have you got a joke or something we can talk? Nothing?
Oh, that's a trip back.
Mr. Chairman, I think it might be appropriate. Somebody informed me that today is Boss's Day. And,
Oh, really?
and I just like to, I was thinking, okay, who do I thank? I like to thank the citizens of Madera County. They're our bosses. So
That's for
thank
sure.
you.
Isn't that the truth? Thank you, Farmer John. I remember. I need to get those reminders, you know. There it
That's
is.
much better. And I want to apologize, Mr.
What?
Chairman, Supervisors. Michael Ween is also joining from PARS. I got that. I spoke too fast. All right. So just wanted to give you your board an update. Back in January 2020, we did take a recommendation to your board to set up a PARS, what we call a PARS 115 trust. That's specifically tailored for other other post-employment benefits, or OPEB, we call it. So in Madera County, our CalPERS pension is a defined benefit plan, and annual contribution is determined by plan liabilities and the market performance and assumptions associated with investment with CalPERS. Our retiree health benefits is set up separately as a pay-as-we-go system. So we don't pre-fund, we don't have plan assets, and the cost is based on the actual cost of health insurance, the number of retirees, and the board-approved contribution rates. For the current fiscal year, our cost for the retiree health program is just over $4.5 million, which is an increase of $275,000 from fiscal year 2021-22. In 2019-20, so general fund doesn't keep up with the cost of retirement benefits. For example, in 2019 and 20, county experienced an increase in the cost of both CalPERS and retiree health of a total of $1.5 million year on year, while the general fund experienced in that fiscal year an actual revenue loss of $746. So whereas in CalPERS, there are investment benefits that can potentially keep up, and there's an investment plan that makes up the difference, we do not have that for the retiree health component. In the current fiscal year, the cost of CalPERS and retiree health increased $2.1 million from the prior year. If we compare the budgeted general fund, which is our best projection at this time, it actually is $800,000 lower than the actual revenues we received in 21-22, which is a good problem to have because we beat expectations in 21-22, but we don't expect that trend to continue. In
this
fact,
year, right?
Yeah, we're factoring in a slowdown in sales taxes. In a pay-as-we-go system, another component there is as our workforce retires, the ratio of actives and retirees, what we call weighs more to active employees. So as in fiscal year ending June 2011, there were 3 active employees per retiree. Currently, in the last available information we have, our ratio is at 2.1. It has stabilized a little bit, and what this really means is, as the retiree health program increases, the weight of having to shoulder that to balance the cost of active employees does become harder as you spread it out, spread the cost out to fewer actives. How PARS can help? PARS can help by allowing the county to set aside a portion of the reserve funds so that it can earn interest based on the market rate, which I believe is at 5.25%. Actual performance. I apologize for the wrong percentage we have in here. If we set up correctly too, and we can explain that later, is that we won't lose any flexibility in the reserve fund. Just pointing out to the board and the public that whatever funds the board puts in the PARS 115 trust can only be used for other pensionable benefits for OPEB. However, since we pay as we go, we can use those and save the general fund, offset the general fund costs that we have for retiree health. The item today is for adopting a resolution that would establish the PARS OPEB account, which is what your board directed staff to do, is to bring this action back in 2020. And what we plan to do is that in the 23-24 budget, between now and the 23-24 budget, is we come up with some recommendations on how we come up with an investment plan to fund retiree health and fund the PARS 115 account. I will now turn it over to PARS to give us an overview of the PARS 115 trust program.
Morning.
Oh, just with your chair, board. Good morning. Pleasure to be here. Mitch Barker, Executive Vice President of PARS. PARS 2004, long time. Really enjoyed the association, and I've known the county just about that long too. My first contact was meeting Vern Moss way back in the day. Pleasure to be here. Love getting out to meet with rural counties. Moved from Orange County to Amador County about a year ago, and love the new way of life. Great.
Smart move.
Yep. Okay. All right, so a brief presentation today. As mentioned, I have two team members with me today. Jim Brown, some of you may know him. He's a retired CEO of nearby Merced County. Retired in February, and I think I chased him for 3 months until I wore him out and said, "You need to be a part of the PARS team." And fortunately, he said yes. So we're here to, he's here to help us answer any questions related to his view on things. And also Mike Ween. Mike's a relationship manager with Highmark Capital. They are our investment management partner, and we've also been working with them for about 20 years. And I wanted to have a good team here just in case your questions went beyond my knowledge. Okay, a 115 Trust team is comprised of 3 companies. PARS, what do we do? Well, what we're known as trust administrators. And most folks would say, well, I'm not sure what that means. It means we do the record keeping, the accounting. We also monitor money coming in. We process disbursements when you say it's time to take money out. And we're all about plan compliance because we've got to follow IRS rules, GASB rules, and state government code. So that's what PARS does, and we've been doing it since 1984. Our trustee is U.S. Bank. They are the custodian of the assets, so they hold the money, and they also provide fiduciary oversight. And as mentioned, Highmark Capital is our investment management partner. I really have a lot of positive things to say about them. They've done a great job at trying to make sense of what's happening in the market. I sure wouldn't want that job. Thank goodness they take it on. They've got a research group that helps pick out the best funds to go into your portfolio. And they also have multiple platforms. They have an active one for using mutual funds. They have a passive one for using index funds, and they have a custom once the assets grow past $5 million. So that's our team. So we're going to talk about this 115 Trust today. You may say, well, what exactly is that thing? I've heard this term 115. It's a section of the Internal Revenue Code. And basically it was created in the early 2000s as a vehicle to set money aside. So think of it as a reserve trust. I sort of call it tongue-in-cheek, a savings account on steroids. So it's setting money aside that has the potential to earn a greater rate of return than the Treasury. And our first product when we started talking to Madera County was an OPEB-only trust, that bucket on the left. And then in 2015, we got smarter and we came up with a 2-bucket trust, also called a combination trust. So you have the ability to pre-fund either OPEB or pension or both. Again, pre-fund, just a technical word meaning set money aside in a trust to be used for a future obligation. This is a post-employment benefit trust. Those are the only 2 requirements or uses of the money, either OPEB, better known as retiree medical, or pension. So let's use pension as an example. You may have heard the term irrevocable. It can be a little scary. Folks say, well, I put it in, I can't get it out. Well, of course you can get it out, but it's restricted. So using pension as an example on the right there, underneath the cylinder, the 2 ways the money can be used are to reimburse the county for pension-related expenses, or you can pay CalPERS when you deem it appropriate. So this is additional money that you set aside in reserve. Of course, you're paying your CalPERS bill each year, but with the way pension costs are rising, it's good to set money aside. OPEB, as you'll see, you've got a large liability, and we want to address that too. Bottom right, one of the most important paragraphs there, no cost, no minimum. So we want to make this easy to get your trust set up, get your account ready to go, and then when funds are made available either through one-time monies or either a funding strategy, you are ready to go. No cost to set up, we don't charge a fee until you actually put assets in the trust. I think it's important, especially in county land, for you to know who else is doing business with us. Counties are very parochial. They want to know what other relationships do you have out there? Who else are you helping? So we've got 34 counties that have adopted our trust to pre-fund either pension or OPEB or both. And as you see, a number of those are your neighbors. Inyo, Mariposa, Merced, Mono, and San Benito are some of the ones I saw closest on the map. All right, let's talk about the first post-employment benefit, OPEB. Again, OPEB stands for other post-employment benefits. Other than what? Other than pension. What's other than pension? Retiree medical. So you obviously have a big obligation there. We've got all these technical actuarial terms. That first line merely means what is the amount of benefits promised? You've promised $280 million in benefits for retiree medical. No money has been set aside, so your liability is obviously the same. And your annual benefit payments paid out on the bottom line there is $4.4 million. So this would be a very positive place to start, in my opinion. The discount rate in that column called pay as you go is 2.2. Discount rate, again, another actuarial term that simply means what's the expected rate of return. Well, that's the low end of the scale. That's if you do nothing. If you put money in the trust and you choose a diversified strategy, then you have the opportunity to earn a greater rate of return than leaving the money in the treasury. And for every point of improvement, look at the rule of thumb at the bottom. For every 1% increase in the discount rate, your unfunded liability is lowered by 10 to 12%. So that's a big number. The most common strategy is moderate. That's a 50-50. The discount rate for a 50-50 strategy is 5.95. So that would be about a 3-point improvement in your discount rate. 3 times 10 to 12 would be 30 to 36% lowering of liabilities. That would be a huge positive step forward. So that's OPEB. We've got a lot of reasons why it makes sense to pre-fund OPEB. I'm just going to hit on a few of the key ones. Number 2 bullet point, contributions into the trust are assets that offset liabilities on the financial statements. That was a GASB ruling, and it was a huge step forward. So every dollar you put in the trust offsets a dollar of liability. That's a big deal. The other one I like is number 4. GFOA recommends pre-funding OPEB as a best practice. Well, I've never heard a board of supervisors say, we don't want to do things best practice. Of course you do. So that would be a positive step forward right there. And then being a county, I'm sure you borrow money at some point in time. Well, credit rating agencies look at your balance sheet. And if you pre-fund OPEB, you'll be taking a positive step forward and eventually improve your balance sheet, which may improve your credit rating. And obviously, if you improve that, you lower borrowing costs. So you get a very positive step forward. So that's why it makes good sense to pre-fund OPEB if you choose to go in that path. Let's talk about the other sister employment benefit, pension. Some things happened in the last 5 years that are noteworthy. Number 1, GASB put pension liabilities on the balance sheet as a line item. Previous to that, they were buried in the footnotes. Nobody's really looking at them. Now everybody looks at them because they're right there, front and center. CalPERS lowered the discount rate from 7.5 to 7 about 5 years ago. And what did they do last year? They lowered it again from 7 to 6.8. Well, if you have kids or grandkids like I do, you remember the old teeter-totter on the playground. So when you push something on one end, something pops up on the other end. So when you lower the discount rate, the unfunded liabilities rise and your pension costs rise. So it's important to be prepared to do something about that. The other thing that CalPERS did is they shortened the amortization period from 30 to 20 years. Well, that's a tough pill to swallow also because that means your annual costs go up. So those are some recent happenings at CalPERS. Let's look at your most recent numbers that just popped out about 2 months ago from CalPERS if you were to look on their website. You've got the line 1, which again is the amount of benefits promised on pension. That went up 6.7%. Assets grew 23.7%. Fantastic. CalPERS 2 fiscal years ago had a great year. 21% increase. And that's obviously reflected in the growth of your assets. So your unfunded liability went down by 22%, very much of a positive step forward, 197 million in unfunded today. You actually have less in unfunded liabilities on the pension side than you do on the OPEB side. That's different than most counties. Your funded ratio went from 63% to 73%, a 10% pinpoint swing. Overall, that's a 16% improvement. Again, a very positive step forward. But unfortunately, what happened last year? CalPERS ended with a negative 6.6% return year. So this will get reflected 1 year later when we see the numbers because they take a year to value. So despite this 21% increase in performance last year, look at the next line, employer contribution amount. It went up almost $3 million, which is a 9% increase. Well, that's one indication that pension costs continue to rise, and it's important to prepare for that. And we think the 115 is a great tool to help you do that. So here's some reasons why to pre-fund pension if you were to choose to go this direction. Again, local control over the assets, because what's your choice? Your choice is to leave it in the general fund or the treasury, which is not earning a lot because they're very restricted on their investments. Sure, Tracy's doing everything she can to maximize investments, but you can only do so much when you're having to follow government code. The other choice is to send extra money to CalPERS. That's not a bad choice. I just don't think it's the best choice because if you have an emergency year or a tough budget, you can't ask them to send that extra money back. But if the money's in the 115 trust, it's there for you. Pension rate stabilization. Again, you got CalPERS. Their last 4 years have been 6.7, 4.7, both of those under 7. 21%, great year. Last year, down 6. So very much of a roller coaster ride. You want to think of this 115 trust as a stabilizing influence. It's also a rainy day fund because you can get to it whenever needed, again, for a tough budget year or for an emergency. And ultimately, diversification is always the key. Spread the risk, put the money in the trust instead of giving additional funds to CalPERS above and beyond your annual cost. So, although it's not simple to try and figure out what's going on in the market, I certainly don't have a clue, but our approach is simple. We take input from the county, from the team that will help make these decisions as to what's your target rate of return, what's your risk tolerance level. Most importantly, when do you think you might use the money? Most folks that put the money in the trust think long-term. OPEB, you're really thinking long-term. Pension, most folks are thinking about 5 years out. We have 5 model portfolios from capital appreciation at the most aggressive end of the scale down to the most conservative. And you see the 10-year returns there. I wanted to give you forward-looking, again, thinking long-term. Last year was certainly a tough year. We know that just by evidence of CalPERS's negative returns. And here's probably the most important thing we can do for you is to have a dedicated portfolio manager that makes house calls, that visits, that understands your risk tolerance appetite, and also when you might use the money, and then crafts a strategy specific for the county. What I've learned from other counties is they appreciate that personal approach. It's important to discuss our fees. Again, in the middle, no setup fees, no cost until you actually put assets in the trust. And then we have an asset-based fee, which would be 0.25% of the money you put in the trust divided by 12. So there's a monthly fee taken out of plan assets. For U.S. Bank / Highmark, it's 35 basis points, also known as 0.35%. So my wrap-up slide is why take this step? And here are my 4 best thoughts. 1, you need something to help smooth out pension rate volatility. And I think this will be helpful for you. 2, it offers a hedge against inflation. We know what we're paying at the gas pump. We've seen the numbers that the Fed are trying to deal with, 8% inflation. This will offer a hedge against that. Number 3, you need all the tools you can put in your financial toolbox, and this is simply one of them. It's not the only one, but I think it's an important one. And certainly 34 other counties have agreed with this approach. And our catchphrase really is this final thought: prepare today for tomorrow's pension and OPEB realities. That's my presentation. I'm available for questions.
You done? What, I had already on there, what was the cost going to be? So glad you put that on there. So I think that's very important. That I've been on here 16 years almost, and can't tell you how every CAO and every money manager drove down, said our liabilities for retirement and stuff is killing us. And I think we got to have every tool in the toolbox that you can have. And our staff is thinking this is got to look into. I'm hear about it. So, Roger Rogers.
Yeah, I tend to be a little old-fashioned and conservative on these things. I'm very. I remember 1994 when Orange County announced they lost $1.9 billion of funds that weren't theirs, invested by people who had faith in them. So I keep those kind of things in the back of my mind to remind me caution is the watchword, and the plan you have sounds really, really good. I mean, as far as investing and the need for growth to keep up with what's going on. My concern is the VAR, the value at risk, and how that plays out, what assurances, what levels of assurance can be provided, and how many eggs are we putting into that basket? That's my 2 or 3 concerns there. So can you give me some thoughts?
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor. Great question. As mentioned, I used to live in Orange County, so I went through that bankruptcy. In fact, one of my best friends was an attorney in the county council's office that unfortunately took them into bankruptcy. And I saw the stress and strain that he went through. So it was a very difficult time for everybody. One thing that's important to note is that Mike, Highmark Capital, and their team, the portfolio manager, puts together a 5 to 7 page game plan on the investment policy. And amongst the various categories addressed are what's the asset allocation, how much in stocks and bond, what's our target rate of return. But I think equally important is one section that I mention all the time. What are the prohibited asset classes? Guess what?
That's
Number one on the list are derivatives, which is what the treasurer in Orange County went down the path on, and eventually got ahead of his skis on that for sure. So no precious metals, no raw land. So all those speculative things that no one should be touching at this moment for sure are on that list. And that gives staff and the Board of Supervisors some peace of mind that they're going to go about this the right way, stick to fundamentals, blocking and tackling, and hopefully over time, because you want to think long term, this strategy will win out. So I feel pretty confident about it.
I appreciate that answer. It's not always what you can do, it's what you shouldn't do.
By your portraits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to ask a question in regards to the investment policy. Is it all based on, does it follow standard government investment policy in terms of what types of things you can invest in?
A good question. It is different than investment policy than Tracy has to follow. So that one's restricted, can't invest in equities. So ours is the same state government code as CalPERS. So we can invest in equities. The question just becomes what percentage is appropriate for the county. That's why we have 5 risk tolerance levels. We want to choose something that it fits for your risk tolerance appetite, and then know that it's changeable at any point in time as well. So once we had that discussion and we came up with a draft, then I think that staff should weigh in and say, okay, I feel comfortable with where we are, or we make changes.
Just in the follow-up question, I know that CalPERS, they have it seems like they let a lot of groups kind of enter into what types of investments can be made. Is PARS, are they subject to political pressures in terms of what types of investments?
No, Highmark's very strong on having an asset allocation committee composed of 20 of their brightest folks, longest term, to help set policy and do all the right things. But ultimately, the risk tolerance level is determined by the county. What you feel comfortable with as best you can in this market, and to what time frame do you think you might need the money. Shorter term should be more conservative. If you can look longer term, then you can take on a little more risk.
Yeah, it was more about, it seems like, well, we're in California, so it's subject to, what certain types of assets they can invest in and can invest in, or discourage from investing in. And so anyway, that was more of the question there. So thank you.
Supervisor Frazier. Yeah, you got to state your name, address, and phone number, and next thing, next.
Good morning, Council. My name is Michael Ween. I work for Highmark Capital, which is the investment manager for the PARS program. I'm a Contra Costa County. I live in Contra Costa County, but excited to be down here.
We don't hold that. Iffy though.
Anyway, I just wanted to, so one of the concerns is, is there potential conflicts of interest, which I really think is really around the question asking. And Highmark acts as a fiduciary, so we have our first responsibility is to our clients, not to Highmark or Union Bank, which is our parent company, or any outsiders. We do not accept any compensation from any organization that we hire to use as an investment manager. So we said, our fees, and then there's a, underlying fee of the individual fund managers, but we are not influenced in any way by them, and does not sway. We have no financial interest to go one area over another.
So that brings another question. You said your bank's Union Bank, so pretty soon your fiduciary and your bank's going to be the same bank.
Correct. So Union Bank and U.S. Bank, are merging. It was approved in Washington last week, and we anticipate that close by the end of this year.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, and my question is probably more for Joel. So to fund this, where's that money coming from? And then do we need to do it all at once when we're putting in the seed, or we didn't get into this overnight? So can we start to work towards it with a plan to using this as a tool to get out of it?
Yes, Supervisor, you're exactly right. When we first took this to your board back in 2020, we had suggested a subsequent study session to figure out what's our investment strategy. But since there is a level of work that needs to be done to set the trust up, so the discussion at that time, so let's set that up, and then we take the time between now and adopt discussion of the 23-24 budget to set up a reasonable investment strategy for PARS and to address retiree health that your board wishes to pursue. It provides flexibility. One of the options that the board can do is to transfer a portion of the fund balance reserve that's available as a startup money, and then to consider annual contributions, employer contributions to the PARS 115 trust that would offset future liability of the retiree health. So we can go about it as slow or medium, whatever your board's pleasure is, and whatever the risk tolerance would be.
So you'll come back with
recommendations.
Yeah, Joel, as we go through this process, I know that reaction time is sometimes critical on investments, and there's going to be some floating leeway there for the investment manager to deal with that situation, but it would be within the direction of our tolerance and our preferred investments.
Yes, right. So I think what you're asking for is that for our investment managers to know what the policy would be, so that they know what to expect on an annual basis. And
Exactly.
I think when our office comes back with recommendations, obviously we're going to be working closely with the treasurer's office and make sure that, we dot the i's and cross the t's for as far as the county's investment policy, that whatever options we present to your board would have some consistency for PARS so that they can do their side of the planning.
Yeah, I also have concerns about, for example, PERS has invested in foreign assets, and that's been in the news quite a bit the last couple of years, even some foreign military assets, and I just find that objectionable. I think that's really a bad trend, and I would think that we wouldn't get involved in something like that in foreign assets, foreign investment.
I believe that's something that your board can have a discussion and as part of our policy towards how we fund and invest in the 115 Trust. We certainly can incorporate that.
Thank you. I just had to voice that concern.
The board, any from the public? Seeing none?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Jim. Good seeing you. And, you live in Merced? Oh, okay. We're going to move to we're a little late, but we're going to do the public hearing number 7A right now. Give a presentation and we'll open up the
Thank you.
hearing.
Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution providing for future annexation area to a community facilities district.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Public Works. Before you today is the final piece of an annexation into the future annexation area of CFD 2021-1 in Tesoro Viejo. In prior board items on September 13th, we started the process to remove a parcel from Improvement Area 1 into the future annexation area. And so this public hearing is essentially the final step in doing so.
Any questions from the board members? Okay, we're going to open up the public hearing. Anybody from the public have any comments on this item 7A? Close the public, anything online? Online, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
You.
Do we want to go ahead and do 6F now? Follow up with that?
Future annexation to improvement areas 1 and 2. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution accepting the annexation of property from a future annexation area into improvement area 1 and direct the clerk of the board to record amendment number 1 to notice the special tax lien to improvement area 1. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution accepting the annexation of property from a future annexation area into improvement area 2 and direct the clerk of the board to record amendment number 1 to the notice of special tax lien to improvement area 2.
Move to approve.
Second.
The public comment.
Was that Supervisor Rogers?
Rogers and second by me.
Supervisor Rogers?
Wait a second.
Yes.
Supervisor
One
Frazier?
second.
Got to do a
Tom second?
I said public comment.
public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Any public comment? Be online. Roll call.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move over to 6C.
I think it's Lois Leonard she's online. Oh, no.
Good morning.
Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with Madera County Economic Development Commission in the amount of $50,735.71 for administering the Madera County American Rescue Plan Small Business Assistance Program and authorize the chairman to sign.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jessica Leon, County Administration. So the item before you is in regards to the ARPA Small Business Assistance Grant Program. On January 25th of this year, your board approved to allocate $2.5 million to assist small businesses. This program would be very, very similar to the CARES grant program that we had back in 2020. There's just a couple differences to point out with the ARPA program due to the ARPA's final rule. So with this program, we would be able to grant businesses with this assistance if they filed for bankruptcy back in 2020. So as long as the bankruptcy was caused due to the COVID pandemic, they may be eligible for this grant program. Of course, there's specific requirements that they must meet. And the other requirement or the other allowable guideline is that they could be a new business that just recently started in 2020, 2021. And of course, there's specific requirements that they must meet to be eligible for this program. So the recommended action for today would be approving the contract with EDC to administer this program for the county. And as I mentioned, they did administer the CARES grant program for the county back in 2020. And with that, I am available for any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I have a request. If we could have a copy of the advertisements or whatever is put out there so that we could help share that information, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. We can provide that, and then we do intend to post it on all of the county social media sites so that we can get the word out. We are, if approved today, we do intend to begin the program November 1st. So that's when we'll begin to, advertise.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Public comment? Pleasure.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Jessica. 6D.
Amend the class specifications and set salary for the following unclassified positions. Discussion and consideration to amend the class specifications for paid on-call firefighter and paid on-call driver operator. Discussion and consideration of approval to set the salary range for paid on-call firefighter to $18 hourly effective October 1st, 2022. Discussion and consideration of approval to set the salary range for paid on-call driver operator to $21 hourly effective October 1st, 2022.
Move to approve all three.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to say that we worked, here comes Matt, we worked really hard 5 or 6 years ago to get this volunteer fireman more money. State passed all the minimum wages that kind of caught up with us, but now back should be, and thanking those volunteer firemen all over the county out and give us mouth to mouth or fight our fires or drag us out of the wrecked cars. So very important because they get paid for everything. Right, Matt? Thank you.
And after they do this hard job for a while, they can go to work at a fast food restaurant and get $1 more an hour for
The new law.
Amazing.
Yeah.
that won't pass.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Well, I just want to thank the board for their consideration of this. The PCFs, they continue to do a lot, and it's good for us to increase their wages as we see other wages get increased across the county and state. So thank you guys for your support.
They still get paid for their training and equipment and stuff?
Yeah, they're now getting paid for all their mandated training,
and all call types that they respond to.
Yeah, I wanted that public record.
Matt, for someone who is looking to get into the fire service or into CAL FIRE, is this a great way for them to start?
Yeah, almost all of our employees that work for CAL FIRE, work in Madera County Fire, Madera City Fire, they all started as paid call firefighters. And there's two different methods that people become a volunteer firefighter or paid call firefighter. One is as a career path, and the other is just to serve their community. And both are great to have. Obviously, long-term, the ones that are here for the community are the ones that are the longer-term volunteers. But both provide great service, just one's a little more short-term.
Didn't you start that way?
Yeah, I started that way in 1992.
Oh, so this is a good program for people to point them to when they're asking how to become a firefighter.
That's
Just
correct.
wanted-
And
just
we're
wanted to point that
we're
out.
starting the hiring process now. The last few years, we've had about 20 to 30 in each fire academy, and we're graduating about 50% of those. So we keep adding to the numbers, but we do have people leave every year also.
What did you make as a pay call firefighter in 1992?
I think I was at Merced County. I think Mr. Brown was around then, but $10 an hour. So.
Wow. Maybe. Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Absolutely.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, everybody.
Is there any online questions on
There is not.
that? 6E,
Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution electing to be subject to Public Employees Medical and Hospital Care Act at an equal amount for employees and annuitants with respect to a recognized employee organization, non-PERS elected, effective January 1st, 2023.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Michelle May reporting with Human Resources. So this particular item before you is to provide for our elected officials who do not opt into the CalPERS retirement system. As an elected official, it is an optional membership. And so currently with our employee groups, of course, we participate in contract with CalPERS for our retirement and then also for our health insurance program. And in order for an elected official who may come into their office and does not elect into CalPERS retirement, okay, they can come in and not elect into CalPERS retirement. This resolution would allow an individual in that situation to be able to participate in the county's and CalPERS health insurance program outside of any CalPERS membership. So in order to offer that ability for somebody who doesn't participate as a CalPERS retirement member, can participate in the health insurance program specifically.
any questions from the board members? Any public comment? The pleasure, board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Vote, please. Oh, any online?
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. Okay, girls, go back to work. 6G,
Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with Raftellus Financial
that's a good one,
Consultants
because I couldn't tell either.
Incorporated in the amount of $500,000 for 5 years to provide professional financial analysis services for fiscal years 2022 through 2027, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Stephanie Anagnuson, your Director of Water and Natural Resources. As we just heard, this is a lengthy 5-year contract. It's with Raftellus Financial Consulting Firm. It will provide services that both include a yearly financial checkup as well as additional work helping us develop costs for GSP programs. So this was included when your board adopted the rates as a required thing for coming back each year.
And this does set in motion the ability to do an early check-in on the rates and see if there's the ability for some cost savings. So we understand property taxes have gone out. We've certainly received quite a few phone calls. I'm sure you have as well. This contract would give us the ability to check in with the rates. That said, it is a relatively fresh rate study, and we can look at each program, completing that by the end of the year. But a couple of the costs have increased just as we look for cost savings, right? So recharge program costs, including construction, have probably increased. Domestic well mitigation costs have potentially increased. So if we look at cutting land repurposing to find some cost savings there based on what actual participation looks like at the end of this year, we may need to balance that. But this contract gets that underway in a reasoned, logical manner of looking at the costs. Happy to answer questions.
Questions? Supervisor Frazier.
I kind of just reiterate, so by doing this, this is in response. I mean, we're going to have to do this anyway, but we'd be able to look at if whatever the costs are this year, and this would be the way that we'd be able to drop the rate if need be.
Or raise it.
This could
Can't raise
potentially,
it without a 218.
yes, you cannot raise the rate over in the Madera Subbasin 246 per enrolled acre. So that's a cap. You could look for ways to lower it. So this would begin that process, and we'll accelerate it if approved. I'll call the consultant this afternoon.
And that's taking a look at what projects or what we were doing in this calendar year and how much money we needed in right?
Yes, that will take into account all current information.
And so if there's no actual projects delivered this year, it could come down less whatever we have to set aside for future projects.
Well, I mean, we're moving all of our projects ahead.
Yeah.
But if there are cost savings there, they are going to find them. And I think the most obvious place for cost savings is in land repurposing. And if we do not get as many acres enrolling in taking their land out of irrigated production as we're estimating. So if we do not get that number, there are some immediate cost savings there. I think that addresses your question.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, and I think as,
Supervisor Rogers.
and I think some of the projects that are down the line, like 2 years down the line, what have you, we could look at the timing of how that's necessary to fund those, but maybe do it at a little bit later point in the calendar of budgeting rather than sooner because of the severe perfect storm that has rained upon, or not rained, upon farmers at this point. And so I think there's savings to be had there. And I think there's going to be some market forces that are coming to bear on the circumstance anyway already, that are already repurposing land, whether we want it to happen or not, and whether they want it to happen or not. I think that the market forces are definitely working in that direction already. So I think we're going to see some benefits. So that's a good place to really look sharply at a cut. Thank you.
Any other board members? Seeing none, public comment? Okay. Pleasure, board.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call. Any online?
No.
Roll call.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Absolutely, yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Huh? Oh, okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Bathroom time.
Recharge. Recharge.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Stephanie and Agneson, your Director of Water and Natural Resources. We have a short presentation with your monthly GSA update. We're ready to share when you are. We'll focus at the end of this on our land repurposing workshop, and Duncan McEwen from ERA Economics is on Zoom. Okay, this is our outline. I'll review the status of our GSPs. We'll talk about fees and their status, a brief review of our verification project, and then the workshop we had on land repurposing. So as you know, we received comment letters now on all three GSPs. The Chowchilla and Delta Mendota GSPs already had a 6-month period where they were revised, shared out again, and then turned into DWR. We should have a response on those plans by the end of the year. You may have heard through water news that there has been one plan that has received a response of inadequate, and that's a response from DWR, and then the state board will take over at that point. So we have one plan out there that may give us an example of what it looks like when the State Water Resources Control Board intervenes. In the meantime, the Madera Subbasin, where there are 4 groundwater sustainability plans, received a letter from DWR. It listed the issues up on the screen: coordination, issues with the minimum thresholds for subsidence and groundwater levels, and then they wanted additional work done on interconnected surface water and groundwater. So the last of those 3, subsidence, interconnected surface water, and groundwater levels, we've addressed in the Chowchilla plan already, and I think we have a good idea of how to move forward on that. In Chowchilla, we had a number of meetings with DWR where we talked through those. In the Madera Subbasin, though, there's this coordination issue, which has proven to be pretty tricky. As you know, there are 7 GSAs with very different structures and personalities interacting. And what the state expects is really one plan with a capital P. There can be various GSPs, but it should present an organized structure. And so that is where we will have to focus in the next 6 months. At the moment, the engineers for each GSP group are working together on the water budgets to see if we can agree there before moving to some of the other issues. So that's kind of a lot of movement in the last month on that, but we will move ahead. So as you know, the fees have gone out. The Madera Subbasin fee of $246 and the Delta Mendota fee of $138. Those are appearing on fall and spring property taxes, just like other fees split in half. Your board adopted penalties last time we met at $100 per acre foot over the allocation for a farm unit in all 3 subbasins, and an $1,000 annual fee if over an allocation in Chowchilla if they do not fund projects. We have some existing verification work. You've seen the slide before, but I thought it would be a good idea to review that we definitely are watching meter data. For 17 growers on 12,000 acres, we're doing weekly site visits and comparing that to ETAW, the evapotranspiration of applied water. We should have final results in early 2023. And that's just a key part of doing the science behind measurement, which is looking at what these data sets are showing. So shifting to land repurposing, we had a hybrid style workshop on September 20th. We do a Farm Bureau portion. Thank you, Farm Bureau. And then we do a Zoom portion. We had 70 participants approximately total. And we walked through what land repurposing might look like with ERA, as well as staff. What we have found is that as well as taking comments out loud, it's useful to include a written survey. Sometimes we get very different results when we ask in writing than you would have heard just from people at public meetings. And as you know, sometimes we hear from folks with the strongest opinions, but that may not represent everyone. So the written feedback gives us that opportunity.
Have we got a lot of written ones back?
I think we got 20 to 30. So it's a fair sample given the workshop. So here's a summary of the feedback. One thing that we asked was, what are you interested in for the length of the contract or the easement? So originally, when we did costs for this, we were looking at 1 year contracts or easements. There was a preference for something that's more of a medium-term easement, so 3 to 5 years. So that's a little bit longer of a resting period. I know Merced is using contracts that are longer than a year as well. And then there was some expression out loud about permanent contracts and a preference for that by a few, but the majority were in this 3 to 5 year. We have really two structures that we can look at for land repurposing. One is just there's a fixed price, it's $600 or $750 per acre that you enroll in the program. Another is this idea of a reverse auction, which is someone decides, okay, I have 80 acres of 20-year-old almonds and I would like to put them in the program, and they name their price, and then we rank the bids according to cost per acre foot of water savings. So there was a little confusion on how that would work. So what we're going to do in the next workshop at the end of the month is do a live simulation of that so people get some practice in terms of what that would look like. And this was split on the feedback, slight appreciation for the bid approach more, but a fair amount of people just interested in the flat offering. And then land management feedback. So this is a question of, once the land is in a land repurposing program, what are the requirements for it? Do you have to rip out trees or vines? Can you leave them as is? What about weeds and maintenance? So we talked through all of those issues, but in the end, what was very clear is that people wanted to understand the requirements before they set a price in the reverse auction, to understand if they needed to come up with money to rip out a crop initially. So other comments. I think there is a lot of interest in this program. I think this is accelerated or maybe increased by the fact that there is a fee now for the programs that help return the GSA to sustainability. We discussed at length kind of what might make you participate in the program. Were you about at retirement age and maybe didn't have a next generation to farm? Were you tired of California? These were all things that came up as reasons that someone might enroll land in land repurposing. So we are working on a next workshop at the end of the month, and we will simulate the reverse auction and see what people's reactions to that are. But lots of interest in this program to the degree that people are trying to enroll land now before your board adopts rules. So we will need to get you rules by the end of the year, hopefully either end of November or beginning of December, and then we can open enrollment. So that concludes my presentation. I would be glad to take your questions.
Questions? Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, when I first envisioned mitigation back in, I think it was 2013, on that 15-point plan I developed back then, I saw it as long-term water conservation, and that it's easier to plan on long-term when you say take land completely out of production for an indefinite period of time, almost a selling of the water rights, as it were, or developing. You could develop a project on land that doesn't use water and accomplish the same thing. I know of several farmers who are doing that very thing and are getting paid handsomely for that. So that's a good deal. And they're doing it on land that's less desirable to farm. So that also is playing out in the free market of ideas there. I believe that's the whole concept, and that's how I envisioned it would work. So we want to keep that those principles in mind as we move along through this, that we're looking at conserving water long-term and easier to plan that way.
And I think looking at it as conservation is very helpful. The GSA is essentially buying water savings, water staying in the ground.
Right, right.
Frazier.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I know that we were looking between 3 and 5 or a longer term, but if we chose 3 or 5, if someone wanted to do it for a longer term, we should have that ability too.
Okay, I'm making a note of that.
Bob?
No, I agree with those comments as far as the long term. It definitely helps with planning and the long term and looking out. So absolutely.
Any public comment?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Jack,
Here we come.
Jack Rice.
Got one online too?
We've got 2. We've also got leadership.
Good morning still, right? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. This is Jack Rice with the Madera Ag Water Association. Appreciate the opportunity to comment. Want to touch base on the issues that have been discussed, also noting that on September 26th, MAWA submitted a letter to the county requesting that you discuss 3 issues: the fiscal year 2023 budget and fee adjustment, satellite ET measurement, and developing of the land repurposing program. I appreciate that Ms. Nagnason has given some updates showing that staff continues to work on them, and I appreciate your conversations and discussions about these, because these are really key issues. And as we're closing out this year and starting next year, there's a lot of things people need to learn and understand about these 3 aspects. Really quickly, I just want to highlight regarding the budget and the fee adjustment. I understand Ralph Tillis is going to be looking at that revision, that annual revision. That's great. But we were hoping that there would be some kind of a GSP project budget for fiscal year 2023, so we can see what's going to actually happen next year. Maybe that'll come later, but that would be really helpful to understand for that purpose. Satellite measurement, just to reiterate, confidence in AirWatch has really been eroded. Just people have seen that it overestimates compared to flow data and observations, and this is presenting a problem. So it really encouraged more discussion about looking at alternatives, particularly Land IQ, that has increased its footprint in the San Joaquin Valley. Finally, on the land repurposing program, just make sure enough time is taken to develop this program well. Don't rush to get it done by the end of the year. If you do a pilot, start out slow, that's great. That'll help with the budget. It'll also make sure you come up with a good program. A couple of things that we learned from the whole proposed fees. First, more people care than actually will ever show up. Second, every program we talk about in the GSP has 2 perspectives. One's from the person that are going to participate, and the other's the people that are going to pay for it. Sometimes they're the same person, sometimes they're different. What I mean in the context of the land repurposing program is, if you're going to enroll and dry your land up, you have one way of looking at it. If you're going to be the person paying someone else to do that, you've got a completely different perspective. It's really hard to balance those, and I know Stephanie and the whole team is aware of that, but I just really encourage this board to grapple with that, and also make sure the public has plenty of time, the farmers have plenty of time to work through what that's going to look like. With that, thank you very much. Appreciate the chance to comment.
Thank you, Jack. The other online? Oh, I see. Huh?
Council.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, here we go.
Hi, this is Madeline from Leadership Council. Thank you for this update. I wanted to note that when it comes to the 180-day period that the Madera subbasin is currently in with DWR, I appreciate the discussion on changes that need to be made to the GSP, but I want to note that we want to urge the Madera County GSA and other GSAs in this subbasin, not just to look at the corrections that have already been made in other subbasins, but to really thoughtfully look at groundwater levels and groundwater quality sustainable management criteria and improve those in a thoughtful and community-driven way, especially centering people whose domestic wells are going dry and people in communities where municipal water systems are being put at risk. So in addition to focusing on coordination over the course of the past 6 months, we urge the subbasin GSAs to also thoughtfully look at sustainable management criteria. And then to Mr. Rice's point on the lack of faith in ERA this is why we've consistently advocated for basin-wide metering. And so we encourage the county to continue to pursue that. Thanks.
Any others?
Not online.
Okay, now we'll come back here. Sorry, buddy.
Morning, council members. My name is Karan Samran. I'm here on behalf of the Chowchilla Sub-Basin Growers, and I wanted to give you guys an update on our efforts. So the state has formed, or they have given our paperwork, and our nonprofit mutual corporation has been formed. We are finalizing our bylaws, and we had a meeting 2 weeks ago on the 4th with Stephanie, John Davids, and Doug Welch, and we had some good talks. Per their discretion, we will have our set of bylaws and a draft MOU submitted to the county by the 1st, and hopefully over the next coming months, we'll have a little bit back and forth, and we'll have a formal MOU set up between the Chowchilla Sub-Basin Growers, that's what we called it, and the county. From there, we will go to the other growers in the Chowchilla Sub-Basin and give them the membership packet and be like, hey, this is what we've agreed to do with the county. We are committed to achieving the same results that are highlighted in the GSP. We're just going to go at it a different way. And then lastly, our goal is to continue to address stigma. We're just going to do it in a different way, and we want to become a GSA hopefully in 2 to 3 years' time and take the control back from the county off your guys' shoulders, back on our shoulders, and just try to navigate these waters of stigma. Any questions?
Can I give your number to Danny East? They're doing a similar thing, trying to form something, and I'd like for him to talk to you.
Yeah, no worries.
Great. Can you make sure that my assistant back there gets it for you?
Put his hand up, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Morning still. Michael Amari again. I'll just be real brief. Now that you guys have passed to have Ref tell us do the for the next 5 years, I urgently ask Stephanie, or if it's under your discretion, to do a whole cost study feasibility test on sites. I don't think it's fair that the GSA is going to pay over $47 million in the first 10 years is the way the budget's planned based on 5 pages. So I kind of find that problematic. And what's even more problematic is as I read the rate study, every single discussion that I've had with folks or even here, it's been sites reservoir 10,000 acre feet. There is a 33% loss when you're transferring that water from sites to Madera. And then we have the question of if we can actually receive water from sites into Madera as opposed to just using it as an exchange. So I would like more information for myself, just, because that is a substantial amount of money. And to go ahead and proceed with that project based on 4.5 pages from a rate study, I don't believe is fair to the ratepayers. My second thing is I would like to see the GSA have more done on sub-basin hydrology. The only reason I say that is because I know there is coordination issues, but I find it kind of funny that when MID set up their sub-basin, there's still plots they left out for the people that never wanted to commit to the fees, and somehow they fell under the white area. So they're paying the 246, but the issue I see overall is how can they benefit from improving their technical sub-basin if they were excluded from the sub-basin that surrounds them? And I think that's a real serious issue that needs to be addressed. And I think that needs to be addressed just amongst all sub-basins, because I think what the issue might happen is, especially if we have a lot of land retirement in a certain area, which I probably believe are going to be along the fringes of the county or the county lines or the GSA lines, they'll see an improvement in their groundwater levels. But the problem is folk and in total in the sub-basin will be under our allotment, but folks that are actually concentrated in one area might actually have issues with their groundwater levels dropping, deepening wells, so on and so forth. But yet on a whole will be considered, sustainable or within our allotment. But at the same time, we're just kind of shifting away where exactly the drops are going to be. So I think it's important once you do the SALC program that there is a geographical component that goes in there to where it's not just concentrated or catered to folks that can take advantage of it. And last, I just would like clarification either from Stephanie or you guys. When we're talking fiscal year, when I read the Ralph Tella studies, I was told that it was July 1st to June 30th. So when we're talking 2023, we're July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. I don't know if you guys can confirm that or if Stephanie can. It is? Okay, so, just keep that in mind now that we're talking about rates. We're talking about rates that actually were for projects and a budget that should have started July 1st, 2022, and we're 4 months in. And as you can see, we don't have I can't go online and pull a SALC enrollment document. I can't go online and pull a domestic well mitigation program document to enroll. So I think we probably jumped the gun a little bit if considering that the fiscal year started, the budget's coming into play as soon as the property tax money rolls in, and yet it's going to expire June 30th, 2023. So thank you.
Good points. I appreciate that, Mike.
Questions?
Yeah.
Feel free to make them.
I think you make a good point too about water districts versus white areas, and I think there's some inequity in what's happening with water districts as far as their requirements. If ditch water is available, their members should be taking ditch water, and they I know for a fact that some of them have their pumps on solar. And it's cheaper for them just to pump the water out of the ground and not take the ditch water. They're not taking it at all. So I think that's really a basic inequity that we're going to have to deal with somewhere along the line, because we're borrowing from this group, and this group's not behaving like they should without restriction. So I think I think you hit on a good point.
And I think that same concept applies to floodwater recharge. If you look back,
right.
Yeah, if you look back in 2019 when MID did release early water, a lot of guys didn't want to take it. Why? Because most of their fields were flooded. It's very difficult for a small farmer to establish floodmar on a year when it was raining all winter.
Right.
It may be easier for bigger guys that can shift equipment, personnel. We'll disc this field, we'll bloom spray this field later. But if you're talking to a guy that only has 40 to 80 acres, it's going to be real difficult to tell him, hey, you should do floodmar, when his response is going to be, well, I can't access my field. Right. So I think all those questions need to come into play as well.
Yeah, the Chowchilla Water District they've purchased a drill for for that very purpose right there. They're going to be doing some work on private lands later on with consent, and I think a lot of people are interested, where they can drill these dry wells that will perk that water quicker. And I think it's going to really help a lot of farmers who get flooded out and can't get access their fields. And it might take time for this to develop, where it drains to one end and you punch the holes, a couple of holes that are really going to perk the water. So that's a good point as well.
Yeah, and the final comment, if I may, I know I'm over my time, but a lot of other GSPs and GSAs, did have workshops and did implement BMPs, better management practices. I didn't really see any of that. I think that's another thing that's lacking, especially if you have AeroWatch. You can really easily see who's probably utilizing maybe too much water. Maybe they have some, damages on their drip lines or their sprinklers and they don't even know about it. I think it would be ideal to maybe use the tools we have in our, in our box to our full potential as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks. Morning.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Devin Avilas with Agro Cooperative here in Madera County. I just wanted to comment quickly. One of the things I do want us to remember is time is of the essence. And we don't want to repeat what happened this year. A lot of us, our company, our ownership mandated us to adhere to the allocation. So do not go over 28 inches. We are seeing the results of that right now in our field. More breakage in trees, less crop. Now, there's a lot of people that did not do that. They're not going to pay any cost. I don't want this to continue into 2023. We have to start somewhere. I understand, Supervisor Rogers, that Chowchilla, this group has come together and made some headway. But they've had 3 years. What about the rest of us? We have 180 days now that we could now be deemed inadequate. What happens then? We can't keep waiting and pushing this down the road. We have to start making some action. Stephanie and her team are doing some good work. I know that we always don't agree on things, but for the most part, Stephanie is always here, willing to hear and listen to us. But I really want to encourage you, for those of us who are really impacted by this allocation and adhere to it, it's really coming to fruition. And we don't know what's going to happen in 2023. We don't know if the bud drop and other stuff that's happened if it happens, we're going to see it come this winter. So, and this land, the land repurposing, I really think if we can get some stuff in front of the growers and Stephanie with this first workshop, and now hearing that we're going to have a second one, I encourage that. But I don't want to be here in 2023 talking and saying the same thing. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Other online? Thank you very, very much. Staff? Nine?
Pending legislation.
It's not really pending legislation. The governor already signed it, but there's another bill that affects the operations of the board from a political donation aspect, and county council will be bringing forth a more complete briefing for the board on that in either November or December. It was AB 2249, either 2249 or 2449. It has to do with contributions and when certain individuals can or can't make them and the cap on those. So it's pretty complex, so I can't explain it here in a couple of sentences, but it will definitely affect county boards of supervisors and city councils.
Okay. Supervisors, number 10, supervisor staff report. David.
I have an RHA meeting this week, and I'll be attending that.
Mr. Frazier.
Coffee and conversation tomorrow at 8:30 at the Madera Ranchos Library. And then also this past Thursday for the Good Jobs Challenge, I was invited to a roundtable discussion with the Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Economic Development Agency. Really great to get in. And you did keep bringing up, and Joel, if you're listening, HFIA, there's like $48 billion in there for broadband access for rural areas and hard to reach areas. So she brought it up multiple times, which means I think they're trying to spend it. So when we get that plan ready to go, that would be a great thing to go after.
We got a MCTC transportation meeting tomorrow and an air board meeting Thursday. Eddie.
Just that I met with a group yesterday, a community group. Madera County has a very large indigenous group, residents here in Madera. And so on November 1st, they will be hosting an event at Courthouse Park. It starts at 5 p.m. And they have invited the Board of Supervisors to have lunch with them because they'll be setting up during the day. But it's a celebration of the Day of the Dead, which celebrates life. So they're keeping it to the very traditional practices that they have back at home. It's not a resource fair. It's not anything like that. It's a very traditional event, and they have invited all of us. I'll provide the information to the supervisors and to anyone else who's interested in attending, and that's November the 1st. And that's my report.
Fortress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last Thursday, Supervisor Gonzalez and I attended a Housing the Homeless meeting, and anyway, some really good news, and probably the biggest news is that by the first quarter of 2023, there'll be 6 tiny homes constructed on the rescue mission property for folks to help them transition from, well, homeless to productive society.
Absolutely. That's
Mhm.
great.
So it's been a great effort with CAPMC, and I know Joel and administration and public health and social services and law enforcement. It's been a cross-jurisdictional type of an effort, so really happy about that.
Perfect. Mr. J.
Well, I guess for the Dodger fans on the board, unfortunately, it
Shut
was
up.
Day of the Dead this
Shut
weekend,
up.
so.
No more talk.
At least we were beat by another California
Dodgers who?
team, right? So I just wanted to let the board know that our application that you approved for us to apply for the LATA money, LATA, which was $500,000 towards broadband planning, was accepted, and it hasn't been approved yet, but at least we know they got it, and they're
Good.
supposed to get back with us in the next few days if they have any question about our submission. That's the end of my report.
Perfect. County Council.
No items to report. Thank you.
Sarah. Clerk. Shannon. Clerk. Karen. Clerk. Oh, okay. Okay, we got closed session want to do again, or what? We done?
I think you had an item to go back to in closed session under all units.
We're going to do that.
I believe we can be done in 15 minutes or less.
Okay, let's do it right now then. Is that okay?
All right. We've just left closed session, and there were no reportable action taken, and we will adjourn this meeting. Take care. All right.